Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 423. We dissect Superman Earth 1, Volume 3. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Wayland, drnorge, joined as always by his co-host Jim. I am the Zod of this podcast, so says the Sensei of the Whatnot Segulin, or the Duke of You Know.
How's it going, eh? Kneel before Zod.
I love that you and Zod connected over a certain, let's say, a certain passion you seem to share together. On this episode, we're going to be talking about exclusively Superman Earth 1 Volume 3. So we can't wait to get you that content. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network, the League of Comic Book Podcasts, and the InfiniteComics.com podcast partnership. Once again, sponsoring us this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, this is my absolute favorite time of the month. We're getting ready for the new deals to be listed for the coming month of March. All of your pre-orders are going to be discounted, and this is a great time to see what bundles they're going to be offering, what deals they're going to be offering on trades, hardcovers, single issues, statues, toys. DCBService.com is your pre-order source. Remember, if you shop using Comixology or My Digital Comics, link those accounts to your DCB service account. It doesn't cost you anything more, but all of those purchases that you're already making give you 5% of those purchases towards your DCB service order. It's a great way to build credit up for purchases you're already making and also to support our show sponsor. So please go to our website, click on the handy link, and make sure to link those accounts and do your purchases through DCB Services website portal so that way you get credit for those purchases. I want to thank DCBService.com for sponsoring our show. Over at InStockTrades.com, I've been mentioning on a lot of the episodes now about the deals of the week that they're offering at DCBService.com. They've got things like Batwings Trade Paperback Volume 5, 50% off, only $8.49. Justice League Dark Volume 5, 50% off, only $7.49. The Scooby-Doo Team Up Trade Paperback is 50% off, only $6.49. This is really, every week you should be checking out the deals to see if there's books that you're looking for and get them at that 50% off discount. And they're constantly offering big sales, like, just for example, one of the first sales when you go up there, they've got 70% off select IDW titles. So I encourage you to regularly go to InStockTrades.com, look for those deals. Here's the great thing. Orders of $50 or more give you free shipping. So if you start bundling some of those specials together, not only are you saving an intense amount of money, but you're also saving on shipping. So check that out over at InStockTrades.com. And I want to thank both of those sites once again for sponsoring our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of Superman Earth 1 Volume 3. So if you haven't read the book, which you really should read because it is awesome, you may want to come back later after you've read this awesome book. That way you can better enjoy the show.
You're so used to saying comics. On that note, let's talk some comics. Jim, our first discussion this episode is going to be on Superman Earth 1, Volume 3, written by J. Michael Straczynski, pencils by Artie and Siaf, and apologies for any name butchery there, inks by Sandra Hope, colors by Barbara Ciardo, lettered by Rob Lay, Superman created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family. And Eddie Berganza and Darren Shan are the editors on this one. Wow. I was really excited for this one just because I've enjoyed the first two volumes. It did lead me to kind of this thing. You know, one of the cool things about the Superman and the Batman universe, and when you get Elseworlds-style stories, which is where I categorize this, is that you get a retelling of classic stories and concepts. But they're told in a way, when great creators are on them, they're told in a way that's new and fresh and tells you something new. There's some really good twists in that. I love the girlfriend. I love that she's somebody different. I'm a big fan of Clark and Lois, but I love her backstory and how she seems to fit this Clark. And I really loved the not just the parts of Zod that are classic Zod, but also the twists and turns with Zod that made this story unique and different. This Earth 1, I want it to continue. I hope people are picking this up because I want a volume 4 after this. That's a sign of a good book for me, but that's where I'm at. How are you on this one?
Oh, we're in the same boat here. I definitely really like this Zod. He feels like Zod. He's not the same one. He's not the same we had in the movie. He's not we've had in the comic in the traditional comic books. Well, guess what? This is a different world. This is a different Zod, but it still is Zod. Mm-hmm. Just like this version of who Lex, is still Lex. And I like the swerve with Lex. I really, really like the swerve with Lex and how this book ends. So it's, there's some really cool stuff with this universe where these characters, there's tweaks, there's differences, but at their heart of hearts, they are the same.
I love the opening of this. I'm a big fan of, I know we see it so many times when you see Jor-El and Lara sending him out and doing all that. I love how this one does it. And how it's a little twist. They're talking about the madman that Zod is, and that, what happens if Superman's, of Kal-El is followed by Zod. I like that this was setting up the mystery. We've all seen this before, yet it built an anticipation for me. And I'm sitting there like, is it going to be Zod? And what's he going to look like? And how is this going to work? And I got really excited for this because this world's been so well developed. When you're dealing with a book that's well over 100 pages and you've got a chance to really delve into the supporting cast and the main characters like you have with these feel like cinematic productions, each one of these. There's something a little bit different than a traditional comic book. I'm hoping, I'll say it again, I'm hoping these original DC graphic novels are continuing to do well. Because it's a very different delivery method. I love the storytelling in these. And they're really just every time a home run. The pacing in this was phenomenal. I kept turning page after page. I wanted to see more. I loved when we got into Clark's apartment and he's waking up. We're seeing the fact that, having superpowers and having to control yourself when you're awake. I like when they add a reality to Superman like this. Dude woke up from a bad dream and he punched a wall. And this is something where, because of the fact that Clark's in this place and the landlord's already eyeing him as suspicious, Clark would be somebody that would give off a suspicious vibe because there's times with him where things don't add up. Because he's Superman. Yeah. And I like that translates to this. He seems odd. It would make a landlord wary. Now he's thinking about damage. And I love that we see Clark using his super speed to cover up the mess that he made. And I really loved every bit of that moment with the landlord. Because it's something that you don't get to see very often. But you and I are both big fans of like Smallville and Lois and Clark and shows like that. And I think why we liked them so much was because they were weekly episodic television programs. You got to see stuff like this. It works here because you've got a longer pace to be able to do more of this. It works in our favorite comics too.
Yeah, I think, one of the neat things about that I've really enjoyed about this whole Earth 1 experience is we are getting just as much Clark as we're getting Superman.
Yes.
And I think that is something huge, because we always say the really cool Superman stories are the man behind the costume, what he's doing outside and what he's doing as a person. Especially this Clark is, really is a massive fish out of water. And they've, from volume 1, they've dealt with the fact of his powers. And, as you said, just he's waking up from a dream and he smashes the wall. And not only does he smash the wall, he puts a nice little, he does some damage to the point where this landlord is like, I heard wood breaking. So it's a very clear bang. But again, Clark's ready for this because he's had these problems in the past. He knows how to fix the problem. So he quickly spackles it, super speed, uses the heat vision to dry it, gets everything fixed up. I was like, man, that is awesome. And again, I was completely digging these sequences and liking these scenes because it adds that little element of a little extra something to a Superman story when we see Clark, we see his real problems, especially this younger version of Clark who's still trying to get his feet around, and just, get himself acclimated to being Superman, to being Clark Kent, to being this loner, this, weird loner guy that, is still trying to get adjusted to this world, even though he's been here his whole life.
I love this Superman costume, this variation on it. I like that it's a twist. It's not the New 52 suit. It's not the classic suit. It's some amalgam of a whole bunch of cool stuff. I love that the boots fold over. To me, I want, if we're going to do a different Earth, I want the distinction. I like that this doesn't look like the Earth 2 suit that we see right now. It's neat to see a different portrayal of Superman. And you keep talking about the younger age of him. I love that too. I think that for me, because of the fact that we're seeing this as Earth 1 and we're seeing the genesis of Superman and gradually growing with him, it's just it's kind of like he's not quite Superman yet. He's got that Superboy vibe in there too, in a way that it works. He's in between almost Superman and Superboy. Like, it's we're ready for that next era with him. And I really enjoy that because he feels very contemporary and current and different. Lex and Alexa, and you started going here before, and I really want to talk about this. The thing I love the most about them is they've got everything between the two of them that I've liked about all the different versions of Lex that we've seen. We've got the good guy Lex, who's the scientist, who's really got something intrinsically good at heart, but then there is Alexa, who is the other side of him. And the two of them together, really, if you smash them into one person, would be our Lex. Yeah. And circumstances breed that later on in the story. I loved this take on it. I guess I saw it, and I don't know if you saw this going the way that I did. I thought all along something was going to happen to Alexa that would affect Lex becoming Lex. I did not see where this was going, and I love that.
You know what? To be honest, I saw exactly where this was going. But to be honest, I saw it in a different way. I saw a double cross. I saw Alexa double crossing Lex, and bringing about, because when I, from the beginning, seeing these two, she always seemed to have, as you said, the light and the dark, the good and the evil versions, those different personas that is Lex Luthor was in these two. And I saw her as the bad guy, the evil Lex Luthor, the villain. And I'm like, okay, she's going to double cross him. She's going to take him down. I honestly thought she was going to, bring about his death, and take over everything. That way. I didn't see exactly how it was going to go on, but when everything was said and done, my money was on her to be the last one standing.
Yeah, see, I guess I saw it as him seeing that she was right all along. So I don't know that we're too far off, because you were basically seeing her influence being the thing that won out in the end. And that's the way I saw it too. I didn't see, though...
No, I saw her killing Lex.
Right.
Okay.
Which is her influence winning out in the end.
Oh, okay.
You saw it a different way. You saw her being the last person standing. What I saw was, with her dying, him almost absorbing her philosophy, going, wow, I was so wrong about everything. She was so right. So he, in essence, became her, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying, I'm not 100%, we didn't see it the same way, but we kind of saw it going in the same direction. I love the twist of where it went, and I do like it that it was her being the last person standing, and how it all played out in this one. It was really cool. Their whole presentation, what worked for me with it, it was very contemporary, very current, very today, preying off of fears of, we've got this guy who, look what he's doing. He has basically gone in and taken over countries. What worries you about that? What happens when he decides to do that with us? What happens when he doesn't like what we're doing? That's always been one of the interesting fiction explorations of Superman, is when you've got somebody this powerful, what happens if they try to take over? And that's been Lex's stance in many of the comic storytellings. This felt very much like you could be seeing this on the news today. And you could be seeing this happening in governments today, where they're really sitting down and taking a look at, we can use what happened to him as a way to craft a weapon. That weapon will make us able to defend ourselves from him.
Yeah.
That whole part playing into the lead-in of the story and how it bookends later on, I just really enjoyed how fresh and current this felt. There wasn't a single part of this that felt dated. It felt very today, very contemporary, yet very classic at the same time. And those are my favorite kind of stories, where it makes you go, woo, I'm really into this now. I want to see more of this. today's film and television, like with Krypton coming up and Supergirl coming up and the new movie coming up, they would do well to take a look at this as what kind of a vibe you want, because there's a lot of balance in this that I really like. You mentioned Clark. I like the Superman balance. I like the people's reaction to Superman. I liked his friends' reaction to him, too. There's something from this that you can take and put into those films and television shows and really make all of those series feel very today and current.
I love that presentation just because the only one person who actually understood what was going on and was had the glimpse and the understanding of where they're going. You see in the artwork, everyone's kind of has this, fuzzy, vague look on their face, look around. She's sitting there focused. Everything what they're saying, 100% they have her attention. That was another thing that I really enjoyed seeing, because I agree with you how this has a very real feel to it. The governments would be very nervous, very worried about this superpowered being. So the fact that we have this, you got to have it. But I did like the fact that, we've got the one person who kind of is able to follow them. Uh-huh. She doesn't know the science, but she knows exactly what they're saying, is able to figure out, okay, yeah, this wasn't just a force field crushing. This is a force field that weakened Superman. Superman wasn't at full power. What caused that power? What caused that? And I like just, the fact that she gets it and she glimmers, and it's a run of the continuation of the science behind it. And these were some really cool, solid moments, man. I'm looking forward to, she's another character I'm looking forward to in Volume 4. I'm looking forward to Alexa. I'm looking forward to her. I want to see this continue growing and these characters keep returning.
The first shot we get of Zod's ship, I really loved, because you've got a guy who, okay, we're talking about how this is a strategic general who's got this rich history of being this Kryptonian who everyone looks up to as being the strategist. So when you see him not only chasing down Clark, but analyzing the planet along the way and raising the shields and doing all these type of things, download local cultures, language, history, everything that he would need to do to build a plan for how he's going to react to this world is what he's doing. I really liked that. I've enjoyed in the movies and television when we see Clark learning as he's traveling to Earth. I've always liked that concept that Jor-El was the scientist, so he would do what he could to impart knowledge onto his son. And that whether it happens in flight or it happens in the fortress or in a combination of the two, that was something that I've always enjoyed about Superman mythos, and I think it's really an essential piece. This was really cool because we've got an adult coming now. And this is Zod. It's not Zod who's been trapped in the Phantom Zone. It's Zod who's been basically out and about and using his skill set to make it here. It's a different sort of portrayal, and I like this distinction because it's something just a little bit fresh about the whole thing and really kept me captivated. Not, like I said, not the things that we are tried and true about Zod. I wanted those. They were all here. It's the differences that made this feel unique and made me feel like this is not the same world that we normally read about.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And it was, again, just I love the build-up because there was some really cool anticipation that, he's coming and he's getting ready. And you talk about just, this is Zod, man. He can't just halfway, go through it. He's going to hit the ground running. He's going to know exactly where to go, what to do, how to do it, because that's Zod. And especially this version of Zod, even, it kind of took it to another level of just how tough he will be, how, he would be, because he's not just the military soldier. He's part of the House of El. He's part of the family. He's part of this great mindset that has always been out there. So there's definitely going to be that additional levels to this character, additional levels to the cunning and why he's doing what he's doing. It's I really dig that. I was as the story's going on, second and third read through, just seeing this extra preparation, you're noted, you're like, oh man, this is awesome.
Lisa was a surprise hit character for me. And let me explain that one. I loved on Smallville Chloe Sullivan. We always talk about how much we adored that character and how she added something to it. She's got that vibe for me. And not saying that she's Chloe Sullivan. What I mean is she's adding something new to the story. I love that she's a very well-developed character. There's flaws to her. There's strengths to her. There's all these kind of things that make her feel very human she's not a wooden character where she's, one-dimensional. She's got the whole package going on in this. And I like that it's another romantic she does kind of what Lana does in the Superman stories for me in the past. But she feels like, again, a very today character. I really enjoyed the relationship between the two of them. I was glad when she found out the secret in this story. Like, I liked how that all played out and didn't know quite what to do. And there's something to that. I didn't know where the whole earring thing was going to go. I'm going to be honest. When I saw the earring the first time, I'm like, oh my God, is that a bug? And we're going to find. I was thinking Sinister in there. I loved the art choice on that because I did notice the earring was there. I didn't think it was going to go where it was as a way for her to come back and discover the closet. I guess that's kind of me looking for, in many ways, it's kind of me looking the way you were looking about what was going to happen with Alexa.
Yeah.
I was looking for that person, I guess. Maybe we were thinking similarly, just looking at different people. I was looking at the twist with her, that there was something there that wasn't. And I liked the surprise that, no, this is really a girl who had made some choices in her life, and she's growing up, she's maturing, she's being open and honest with this friend of hers. Clark's not judging her. Clark's seeing her for the person she is now. And there's something to that relationship that I can see why she likes him, why they've become friends, why he's, looking at her and saying, could we go further with this? Could we not? I found myself rooting for her, which is really interesting in a book where I love Superman and Lois. I'm currently loving Superman and Wonder Woman. I did find myself rooting for Lisa, which is a sign of really strong character development.
Oh, God, yeah. I thought she was going to be a one and done. Nothing. I didn't think too much about that she's going to be around, or that I would actually be drawn to the character and worried about her. Because later on, I get very nervous, like, man, she's got a bullseye on her chest. Uh-huh. Is she going to survive? And like you, when I saw the earring there, I also thought, is that a bug? Wait a minute, is there something goofy going on? And then, you got the pages right up there, and you can see, no, that's one of her lucky earrings. I'm like, and so I at first I was thinking, is that, she was planning it? Then I'm like, or did she drop it? I'm like, why would she have her go through the whole emphasis on the lucky earrings to have her drop it? So I didn't see, and I like you, I loved how the fact that it was the lucky earring that she left in his apartment that brought her back to the place, and then led her to find the closet, to find the costume, and figure out Clark's secret. For me, that was a really cool way to bring her into the fold and bring her into the mix. But once that happened, I was like, oh no, they're getting rid of her, and she's going to die a horrific death. Just because, it's something I was just like, because I didn't want that to happen, because everything that had played up to that point, I was like, this is a cool character. I hope she stays around. And then when she learns the secret, I'm like, oh, I don't know about this now. What's the chance there? And it was highly emotional, just, a quick reaction and just a connection to the character. I was like, man, this is neat.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was constantly throughout the story worried about her. And that's really, I like that she isn't a character when you've heard about Superman Earth 1. You don't hear, she's not in your face. It's not like this character that they're shoving down your throats. The story introduces you to her. The story brings her in. And you gradually start to like her because she's just well written. And there's something to that. There's something to not, making a big deal about it, getting it out there in your face ahead of time. Hey, check out Lisa. Or, you know how sometimes we get like announcements ahead of time that almost ruin the getting to know you part of the character, because they force you into something that really should be left up to good writing. In this case, it really was left up to good writing. I like the character because she's really well written. I want to see more of her in the next volume. They've made me think of her as the cast member in this Superman tale, and I want a volume 4 super bad because of characters like this, because it isn't something I'm going to read in Action Comics. It isn't something I'm going to read in Superman. I'm not going to see her on Earth 2. She's a part of this world, and she's one of the things that makes this world feel fresh.
Yeah, they could have very easily said, Clark in this version has a girlfriend who's an escort. Dun, dun, dun. Mm-hmm. And it would have completely taken away from the coolness of the character if we had gone into that knowing this stuff.
Yes.
Because, again, yeah, she did that, but she's turning her life around. And, it's one of those things that I love the fact that when Clark learns all this stuff, it didn't change his opinion of her one iota, not even for a remote minute. And even later on, when he's talking to his mom about her, he's like, without going into details, because he doesn't want to tell his mom the details because that could cloud the mom's judgment. He's like, she told me stuff. Did it change your opinion of her? Not for a minute. So those really cool moments. Again, it shows that this Clark Kent is a really cool guy. He is that loyal person that you think Superman should be, that you think Clark Kent should be. And I love this, again, little differences, but it's still at his heart of hearts, this is Clark Kent, this is Superman. And that for me is something that makes me really want more volumes, appreciate the story I've gotten. I go back, reread these tales. I have a very strong passion towards Earth 1 Superman.
Yeah, and he thinks for himself. That's pretty critical. The fact that he's got his own mind and he's unique. It's actually everything at his core. This is everything we like about Superman. We like Clark Kent. We like Superman. We like the guy when he's talking to mom. That's when he doesn't have the put on. There is nothing fake about him. He's 100% him. And it is that amalgamation of both characters. And it's the third person in Superman. It really is. Superman has three identities. He has Clark Kent, he has Superman, but then he has the guy that he is when he's talking to mom. And the people that know. And that's very rare that we find that. When we flashed that bit with Jimmy Olsen, and he finds out that there's a file on him, I love the crazy mixture of emotions there. There's, the panic, the frustrations, those type of things that are in there. I really think that stuff is particularly important as we're looking through the whole Superman storyline. I love that there's this sense of betrayal, too. It's interesting in a reporter's world where, you kind of research stories and you build files on people and you do this type of thing. But to find out a coworker's doing this with you, you're not a story. You're not being written about. Why would this happen? That builds a sense of panic, worry, and also betrayal because of the fact that he looks at Lois and does have strong feelings about what he likes about Lois in this world. To find out that she had a file on him would be something that would be upsetting on a variety of different levels besides that. Like this Jimmy Olsen, too. Really a good Jimmy Olsen.
Hey, I love this Jimmy Olsen. Flat out. Just, I like, they take what is a photojournalist? What is this type of person? He's going to be on the edge, and he's going to be the person who just jumps right in, picks up the camera, and starts taking the shots. And we've seen it throughout throughout both volumes where he's in direct harm's way, and he's not flinching because you got to hold steady for the shot, and he gets the shot. Even throughout this, issue, we don't get a lot of Jimmy Olsen in it, but we get that cool scene on the bridge where he's just following the shot and like, hey, it's not exactly safe out there. He's like, well, he's going that way for the shot because that's where he's got to go. And then this with his interaction with Clark, when it's busted, he's like, I can't lie to you, man. It's Lois. This is how she is. And it's. He feels bad for Clark, but it's one of those things where it's like, this is how she is. This is who she is. This is, she's an investigative reporter. She looked into you. She got a little worried. She got a little jealous. But also the fact that, it wasn't just jealousy. There is some protection for the Daily Planet. There is that Lois where it wants to make sure, who is this guy who scooped everybody, who scooped me? So there's a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of anger, but there was also Lois wants to protect the Daily Planet. And I love the fact that it wasn't just about one faction of it. There was multiple levels and why she has that Clark Kent file.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I find that's really important there when she has that file. I love the super signal.
Yes. Well, I like the signal, but I also like the fact that Clark doesn't like it.
Yes.
Because, it could very easily be, a nice little beacon to let the bad guys know where he is or puts other people in danger. There's a different level of Superman than you have with Batman. When Gotham, they throw up the signal in Gotham, there is the bad guys could use the bat signal the exact same way, but they're going to go after Batman a little bit different than they would Superman.
No, it's, you know what? There's. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let me let you finish. But there's a different take on this. You're right, but I think there's something that they broadcast here that I think is a little different than what you're saying.
Well, no, you can go on with what you got.
Okay. One of the things I liked about it is Superman makes distinctions that, on the other hand, it could be one way to tell an attacking alien fleet, drop your bombs here. And you got to go back to the previous volume to take a look at. We had that happen. So he's looking at it that way. With Batman, and you're right to make the distinction between the two. With Batman, when they throw up the bat signal, Batman's all about intimidation. That's Batman's world. So when that goes up, villains should be scared. Yeah. It's a different sort of thought process where Superman's like, hey, wait a minute, aliens, come in here. We've had this happen. Why on earth would you start broadcasting for them to come here? There's a different sort of thought process there. And you're right. It is, in Superman's case, you don't want to instigate. And your point is well met there. But I think that's the big distinction here is we just had this happen. Yeah. Why would we start sending out the red flag to come and do this? Batman, on the other hand, when that happens, they're calling him out, which should scare villains. It's just a different, Gotham is a different animal than Metropolis is, and the distinction's well met. And I loved that it was something that we'd find totally acceptable in a Batman book, and it fits Batman's mode of operation. It does not work for Superman.
Yeah, and I like the conversation they have up on the roof. About the fact that, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. Because that's, there's a whole issues in the United Nations where, Superman's getting involved with international instances, and yes, he took out a madman. Yes, he took out somebody who shouldn't be in power, but you can't just throw out there and always do the quote unquote right thing. You got to think multiple levels, multiple tiers. And it's the fact that it's Lois kind of like letting them in on this. She's got her inside sources to the UN. She's got, her connections in her family there they're getting nervous about Superman. So she's letting him know. And she's, it's kind of neat seeing how much Lois, there's not a relationship going on here, but there is that she knows he's a good guy. She knows, hey, this is somebody, we should look out for and we should help out. And I like seeing her, kind of reach out and try to be that person for Superman. Again, it adds to, what is a cool Lois and Clark relationship is that, he always had her as a sounding board. He always had her, just that, kind of that grounding agent. We still have that connection between Superman and Lois. We still have that teamwork. So again, a little bit different, but still that same at the core of who Lois and Clark are.
And you see why he would later come back to her. There's something to that. This is a guy who was, worried, annoyed, every emotion that you would go through when you find out somebody's been investigating you and producing a file on you. But then when they have that confrontation and she's coming at him so logically, and it's not about scolding him, she's reasoning with him. And your point is so well met there. I love the dialogue because it really is her sitting there having a conversation, pleading, just kind of saying, hey, look, you need to understand. And that would be something that would be a danger with those powers. It takes a special kind of person to have those powers. That's one of the reasons why do we believe in Superman? Why do we aspire to be Superman? Forget about the fact that aspiring to having those powers. His strength of character is something that is always really critical in the best of Superman stories. It's even when he makes mistakes, even when he's a little off, it's the fact that, this is a good guy that can be talked to and reasoned with. He is not going to keep going down a path. He's going to tweak and build and move and shake and change things up in order to be in that better place. And there's something to that about Superman. It's what makes him inspirational is the fact that he has all this power. He could do anything he wants. He really could do anything he wants. And he could go and play puppet master with the world if he wanted to. But like she said, that doesn't mean that you should. That philosophical discussion, I think, is the best of Superman storytelling. It's really a good debate. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's one of the funny things because Superman's my favorite character. Hey, I've always, I'm the Superman guy, and I absolutely love, this stuff. And it's that type of characterization. It's that type of true strength. It's not the superhuman speed, the invulnerability, all that stuff that makes Superman Superman. What makes him is the fact that he has to make these choices every day, and he doesn't let the power go to him. It's that the whole saying of power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. He's the exception to that rule. And that's the thing that, you always aspire to. And that's what makes, the debate of truth, justice, and the American way. What's the American way? Are they talking politics, yada, yada? Or is it just that ideology that, we had at the golden age of, the American society that, help others, do the right thing, stand tall, just that truth and honor type of code that was always the when Superman was first created. You look back to, the generations ago that when this character and that concept of the American way was first introduced and created, that's the kind of characterization that Superman has. And he still has, and this guy still has it. He's not perfect, but he's striving to always do the right thing. And I love the fact that their argument ends, the discussion about not using the powers and being careful when you use it, ends because a crane is about to fall and crush people. And so he's got to go and save the day because that's what Superman does. And I love just how he whooshes off at the last minute, catches the crane, and you can see that final panel where he's catching the crane, saving the people underneath. It was a really cool capstone to this conversation. It was the best way for it to end.
Yeah, and that's something that's really great about this book, again, is the pace. They keep things moving. They give you like really great dialogue and exposition. They go off into action sequences. Then we need to jump back to Zod. Right when we need to jump back to Zod to give us more. This reads very different the second time around in a good way. I mean, that's part of when you read a story the second time through and you know how things are going to play out. This Zod sequence, and knowing that he was the need to chase down Superman for the reasons that he is in this case, I thought really played out well. Crashes down, and you see him bursting out of there going, I can feel it, and it's overwhelming and knocks him out. But knowing that, when he says, override safety protocols, let it burn, he's crashing himself down there and potentially marooning himself depending on what happens, but it's all because of the quest that he's got for Clark, for Kal-El, and that need to do that. And you really, the second time through, you see that even more. You saw it the first time through, but not on the level you do in the second read through. And that's what's fun about rereading a story like this, is seeing things through a different lens because you know more about the character's motivations and seeing how cleverly the writer built that in.
Yeah, he is just super obsessed with Kal-El and the House of El and destroying every last Kryptonian. It's not just, because that was the thing that one of the biggest differences for me between this Zod and the Zod I'm used to is the fact that the Zod I'm used to, you could kind of argue isn't a complete bad guy. You could say, hey, he's fighting for Krypton and what he believes is right, and it's kind of like those arguments you can make towards Lex sometimes, where like he's doing what he thinks is the right thing. This Zod, you really can't make those arguments. His plan is that he wants the complete destruction of all Kryptonians out there, to destroy the planet. He's going after the last sun now. It's complete and total destruction, and you really you got only one emotion you can go with this guy. You got one characterization. He is a bad guy. There is no good here. This is pure evil. This is planet destroying, planet conquering evil. And I love the fact that, going through second time, knowing the motivation of Zod, you see just that obsession and that passion. There's that Zod.
He takes the Superman 2 Zod and kicks him to 11.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Superman 2 Zod was clearly a villain. But this is, you're right, a whole different level of it. And I liked that. That felt fresh, too. Because what ends up happening is a lot of times when you reuse characters like this over and over again, you can go two ways about it. You can either advance them and make them seem more dangerous and threatening and more of a current contemporary villain, or you can water them down and diminish them. because you've told this story and you're kind of phoning it in with them. This was really taking a look at how can we take everything that really's worked about Zod in the past, but make him feel like a threat today. And it worked in this because of that, because this feels like today's Zod. And the threat's there, and there's something more intimidating. I liked the Man of Steel film a great deal. We talked about it on the show. I actually liked this portrayal of Zod even better than that. And I like that. This is not me knocking that movie. I'm a fan of that movie. But I thought this actually took Zod to an even further level than that movie did.
Yeah. Oh, I'll concur with that statement. This Zod, and I'm not a big fan of the pure evil Zod. I really dig the Zod, the pre New 52 Zod that we had with the Return of Krypton, and that level of Zod who was who was, kind of trying to save his people. And yeah, he was a bad guy. Yeah, he had his plans, but, there was a kind of that gray area. He's kind of doing it for his people. He's kind of, maybe is a good guy-ish, sort of, kind of, for his people. But, this Zod, pure evil, I'm really loving this Zod. This is a great Zod. This is a great, character and villain. I really enjoyed, who he was and what he was about throughout this. And I think if you had told me earlier that he would be a more pure evil Zod going into this, I would have been like, I don't know. I kind of like the gray area Zod, But you know what? I didn't know anything to expect. It's playing out as the story told me who this guy was. I'm really into it. I know who he is, and I like it.
Yeah, that's a great part of this. We flash from this to the sequence with Clark and Lois. It's funny. This is another sequence that, for me, read a little differently the second time through, because I think when I do a second read-through on a title, I spend a little bit more time really analyzing the story and taking my time with it. The first time through, there's that excitement, that initial excitement that draws me through a story quickly, because, you're turning page to page, what's going to happen next and all that. I know what's going to happen, so I take my time a little bit more and bask in the experience the second time through. I don't know if you might have a different experience with it, but this is kind of like how I handle it. This really read differently for me, because I kept thinking to myself, like, wow, if Clark hadn't met her on the roof and had that conversation with her, would this have gone the same way? Because this is a Clark who's walking in, having that conversation with her on the roof and respecting her. So now he's approaching her with a different sort of lens. And it was really cool to see him shift from being Clark discovering the file to Clark as Superman having that discussion where he's respecting like what she's laying out for him and how she's coming at him. So now he's got to be in the opposite place where now he's got to talk to her about her faux pas and where it comes from. And he really approaches it with a level of respect and a really cool debate that I enjoyed. It's funny how, Superman at its best, I love Superman with high action and seeing the battles and all that, but the best Superman 2 is also really strong character drama, and I think it's really the best writers know how to keep that in mind, too. When you look at shows like Lois and Clark and Smallville and stuff, what worked about them was it wasn't always when he was in the capes and tights and fighting villains. It was when you saw him interacting with the world around him as Clark and Superman. This is a great example of that, and you were hitting on this before, and I couldn't agree more. The Clark Kent moments really shined for me in this, and that's important to me in a Superman story. It's why Smallville was so successful.
Yeah, and like with me, my multiple read-throughs on a story, I've said before on the show, I do a first ed read-through because you get that initial excitement out of the way. Then my second read-through is the art read-through, where I'm not reading words. I'm just looking at the images because I already know the story, so I know what's going on, and I'm just doing that read-through. And I loved these sequences, when I was looking at how the characters are drawn. And you see, because you hit the nail in the head where you talked about this is a Clark that's different, who's already had that, meeting with Lois as Superman. Because you see those initial pages with Jimmy when he first sees it, you see an anger. You see it. What the heck is this? Then as, he has his meeting as Superman, it's kind of calming. And then this beginning, it starts off, it's, inquisitive, but not completely accusational because he already knows. Lois initially is more, kind of more on the defensive. and you get that by the end of it, you get a really cool, just, okay, we're cool, we work together, good job, and even a handshake. And I like the fact that Lois never really admits 100% that she was jealous. She's like, no, maybe. So she never really completely admits that, he's like got one up on her. And that's a cool Lois trait. But throughout this process, I love seeing just the emotional spectrum that these two characters go through in multiple panels, and Clark in multiple outfits.
Yeah, I totally agree that works as well. And you're right, the multiple outfits and kind of that adds a real world feel to me as well. The cool thing about this artist, I mean, this is a shift from Shane Davis in the previous volumes. I gotta say, the artwork continues. I love the artwork in the first two volumes, really loved it in this volume as well. This was the artist from Batgirl, and I really enjoyed his run on Batgirl. Love the transition to this book and the different take, while at the same time keeping some consistency with what came before in Earth 1, but putting your own stamp on it. It was clear that the art was different, but at the same time, it honored what came before and evolved it to the new artist style. And the new art team together, just, the whole art team really did a great job on this. I want to comment on the art because I really enjoyed the art in this book, and I've enjoyed that consistently in both of the other volumes.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And it's, as you said, it's different art, but it's, both. Before was good. This is good. This is something that it's not a, it's a difference, but it's not like a glaring so different that you're like, what? Wait, who's that? Wait, looking at this, who everybody is, what's going on. But again, there's some beautiful artwork here, and this is not just pencil. This is pencils, art, inking, coloring. I'm loving just, again, usage of, the explosions and the fires and the various moments of high energy releases that you get from that the coloring has given us, especially early on here with Zod's initial battle where he's getting used to these newfound powers, to later on battles where you get some really cool color usage, cool art choices.
Yeah, the battle, I loved that whole, you talk a lot about on the show about how you like when non-traditional panels are used in the right way. And I thought the use of the non-traditional panels in that spread as a way of showcasing like a pace of violence and just really laying out for us that, this is like what would happen if Superman didn't hold back. Just really, really important. It laid out in the beginning that this is not going to be a good guy.
No.
And
but here's a neat thing with this, because I have both digital and I've got the hard, cover. Mm-hmm. And first read through was, when the hardcover came out, and then I, second and third read through, I'm using my digital copy, and I gotta tell you, normally, it's, I always say, well, there's a differences, but they're both really cool. I got to say how much I love the digital version of this opening sequence, because it's just this wonderful, seamless panel and page work. And you can just sit here and there's no words, nothing going on. It's just the pure carnage, chaos, destruction. And I was like, oh my God, this looks absolutely beautiful. This is an absolutely just amazing piece of destruction.
I always, as I'm reading comics digitally, I'll take screenshots on my iPad, and I use them for my backgrounds, either on the iPad or on my Windows 8 machine. You can, I create a pictures folder. I'll take and just keep adding to it, because you can set on there rotating backgrounds where it will go into the folder after whatever time designation you set. It will rotate them to, every 10 seconds, every 15 seconds, whatever you want, or more, whatever you want, however long you want them on there. But it's great to have all this awesome comic art. And it's the only reason why I take the screenshots. I really like putting them into a folder and kind of reliving cool moments in a book. I'll sometimes take a page with great dialogue and do the same thing, and just kind of go, I want to see that sequence with the visual and this Zod page right here. Trembling, terrified, weak. It seems there is something more in this world, more powerful even than me. Fear, the only weapon I will need. Zod, you gotta write Zod with great dialogue. You've got to give him that unique, vicious sort of Zod dialogue. Really great. I really enjoyed it.
Oh God, yeah. Again, I'm loving this Zod. This has been just a nasty, vicious, creature. And it's kind of funny going from this wonderfully beautiful, destructive moment, and it's, again, talking artwork, talking colors, talking that dialogue, and just that power. You go from that to the sweet, innocent, Lisa getting the earring and discovering Clark's secret. It was such a dynamic shift in the story being told that it was a dramatic, moments. And you go to this innocent thing of, oh, here's the earring. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It wasn't anything bad. It was just her finding an earring. I'm like, why would they have that? I don't know. And, and then you flip pages, and then she gets the reveal. Then she sees who Clark is. Like, oh my God, that is awesome. This is it. You go from that extreme violence to this oh my God moment. And even her, when she first sees the costume, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Just the way they did the lettering with the really multiple oh my gods, and then that final oh my God. And I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, and it was really great that her first instinct was to cover this up.
Yeah.
Because she could have gone a whole lot of different directions on this one. She could have taken the suit with her. There's all kinds of things she could have done here. She did the thing that, like, I need to think about this. I need to decide what to do. I really loved what this led to. And this is another great example of this would not play out the same way in a monthly. You could do it in a monthly, and you could tell it over time, but having this in one volume and being able to continue reading at the pace that you currently are with all of it there with you really worked for this because of this type of sequence. You can play it out in the story, and you're anxious and you want to see it follow all the way through. And I think it helps for a writer and an art team to know you're going to have the space to be able to pay this off. And there is a different tone and a different set of things you can do in a story like this. And then flashing to, again, more character development with Alexa, and Lex. I just really enjoyed that shift as well. Character development really was important to me on this one. It felt like an unfolding drama, and I love that. That type of stuff is great because there was nobody in this story that I felt like I didn't know.
Right. And there was no like moments where you're like, what the heck is going on? Everything was used. There was no filler. There was no, just, okay, okay. Yeah, there's no point in time when I was sitting there going, what? Come on, let's get to the act. I never felt bored. I always felt the story kept moving along, kept going, and kept hitting. And even just like you go from, the scenes with Alexa and Lex on the balcony. It could very easily been a throwaway, but inside there is some really cool stuff where we're seeing the two characters. They're seeing their personality. She's got, he's like, hey, we're not murderers. We're scientists. We're not police. We're not soldiers. We can't do that stuff. And she's like, of course we can. Remember the Manhattan Project. The atomic bomb saved hundreds of thousands of lives. This could do the same. And I love just the fact that she is just that, again, there was great banter going back and forth between these two. And again, I was like, as I'm reading this, I'm going, man, she is so going to kill him. Just the whole time, because she needs him around. And I like the fact they brought up at this point in time that right now he's the only one who understands this. But it was that moment where she said, until we're done testing. And that's where I was thinking, okay, there's where it's going to happen, because, she's saying flat out, hey, yeah, you're right. You only understand it, but eventually I'll learn it. We just got to figure this out. Once everything's laid out, I'll know how to work the prototype. And that for me was the trigger of like, okay, that's what's going to cause the problems for them. But again, we get a nice swerve at the end where it's not exactly how it happens. I was like, these pages were like, man, this is some cool stuff.
See, and I saw their relationship as being legit because the open debate, I didn't get, you read her totally different than I did. This is where you read her differently because I was not looking at her as wanting to turn on him. I agreed with the respect they had with each other. I did see her as evil like you did. Like, she's not afraid to push things and all that. But I did buy into the fact that she cared for and loved him. I always bought into that. It was an interesting sort of drama because he's this basically good guy who is brilliant, and she was drawn to the brilliance. They both saw themselves above lesser mortals. Yeah. He, though, intrinsically was a good person, even though he had that smarmy side of him that's, I have no patience for you because you're not quite all where I'm at. And you could see why the two of them wound up together. I love the debate. It's a really open debate. He keeps throwing things out, and she's like, until we test it. Until we test it. How, by killing Superman? Listen to yourself. And that debate really just worked for me because I at the end, I really felt like these were two people that were finding a way to compromise and understand each other. And the kiss at the end, I bought into their relationship. I really, really did. And yet I saw the writing on the wall that this was going to go horribly wrong for them in some way. So I guess I'm probably wrong in the sense that saying that we read this completely different. We didn't. We were both looking for that thing to go wrong. We were just looking for different things to go wrong.
Well, to be honest, you were not wrong. We did read this differently because I'll tell you right now, I know now that she actually did love Lex. At the time when I was reading this, I didn't think she did. I honestly thought she was using him. And here's the panel that really sank it home for me. It's right after the debate, right after they're arguing. She's like, I love you, Lex. I want you to be happy and comfortable with our work and with me. I've never not been happy and comfortable with you, Alexia. I love you more than life itself. Then I guess we have that in common. Now, when I first read that, I took it that she's telling him that she loves herself more than life itself. They both love her more than anything else. That's how I initially read that scene. That for me was the panel I was holding on to it. I was like, right there, she's saying, yeah, I love me more than you as well.
No. But she starts off and see, no, wait, here's the thing.
I will admit now I was wrong. But when I first read through this, that panel right there was one of the really key things that stuck in my head that made me say that she didn't really love Lex. I know I'm wrong. I admit now that she actually does, she did legitimately love Lex. But when I was first reading through this, I completely thought something different.
And you know what? Let me finish, because I wasn't saying no in the sense that you're wrong. What I was saying is I love the fact that you can do that. And I think people do that when they analyze. You and I could both listen to a conversation between two people and interpret it based on our biases in two very different ways. There's a reality to that. So I don't know that, I guess, and that's where I'm saying, I don't know how far off we are in the sense that I think this is what people naturally do. And you wind up being wrong because we don't have the whole background of their relationship other than what we're seeing on the pages here. There's a reality to that. We haven't seen when they met, how their love developed, things like that. I totally read this as, I love you, Lex, and I want you to be happy and comfortable with our working with me because of the fact that the debate was such a trade-off. Like, at the end of the debate, I didn't feel like there was one winner or loser. They didn't run away angry from each other. They kept talking openly like a couple. And I really enjoyed that about this because it was fresh. Because I think it's been done to death that now all of a sudden she's going to do these evil things to him. And you're right to assume it's going to go there because it does so often. That's what ends up happening. It's one or the other that does that, and that's where it goes. And so there's nothing wrong with you assuming that. Based on experience, that's what ends up happening when they do this kind of thing. I thought it was so fresh that they didn't do that. They didn't lead to the big fight between the two of them. It was an honest and open debate between two very smart people who have different this is like basically a husband and wife who are a Republican and a Democrat, just in the sense that, and they really believe in those philosophies, but they respect each other. They're going to have political debates that will be very philosophically different if they're truly one way or the other, but yet they respect each other, so they're going to debate openly. And in the end, just say, you know what, I love you. I still love you, even throughout this. And, and him coming back and saying, I've never not been happy and comfortable with you, Alexandra. I love you more than life itself. At the end, her kind of saying, then I guess we have that in common. The way that it was said, with the fact, and this is where the text really worked for me, because if you take a look, the text is actually a little smaller there.
Yeah.
It's almost like she's softening her tone, which is why I didn't take that as smarmy and her going that way. It's one of those things where lettering really had a difference in my viewing of that, because as you were saying what you were saying, I'm like sitting here, I get how he could see that. I was trying to figure out myself, why didn't I see it that way? And this was an example for me where it was lettering. And that's not that you're wrong. I don't mean it that way. I just happen to really be drawn into the lettering on this one, which I don't comment on a lot. I'm not always well aware of what lettering does for me. I don't know if that was done intentionally, that it was smaller, but that smaller lettering there made me feel that that was a softer line when she was saying it. So it made me view her differently in that. And that's where I got it from. And right or wrong doesn't matter. It's different experiences because we read it a little differently, and that's okay. There's a reality to that. But I love this kind of conversation because I could totally see how you got to your conclusion, and I don't really have any issue with you getting there. My experience was different just because I read it differently, and I like that. It's fun. It's fun interpreting books like this.
Yeah, and Rob Lay gets full, hats off on lettering on this issue, on this book, because again, the lettering, that smaller thing, I took it as a slight whisper, kind of like her getting it, trying to get one over on him, and there was just some cool stuff there. This has been, as we said, full creative team, full art team, written, visual, all these stuff working together, giving us a really great story and a great experience. I'm really happy and really excited. And I think part of the reason that we read this differently is just because our real world experience differences. You've had, very positive relationships in your life, and I'm not so much.
I've had ones that haven't been, though. I mean, it's, So, I mean, that's not entirely true. I've had situations where it hasn't gone so well. But what I think worked in this sequence, too, is the art, if you take a look at it. For me, if you take a look at her face, she never loses the soft tone with him. Like, there's never a part of her where you see the kind of diabolical in this conversation. You do see it elsewhere in the book. But a lot of that, again, comes off as the smarmy, I'm holier than thou, better than you. But it's not ever directed at him.
Yeah.
Which was very consistent throughout the story. And to me, I gravitated towards that because I felt that was fresh. It was a different sort of take. And I really give it a lot of credit for this because it made these two interesting for me because they weren't a carbon copy of what's been done before. It was treading some new ground. It's actually what I liked. What I like about Smallville and Michael Rosenbaum was because it told us a different part of Lex's life. We got to explore like good guy Lex and really got to like him. So when the turn happened and he became so sinister, it was bittersweet and done so well because of it. I love that with this couple, this was bittersweet, too, in a very different way, in a way that was fresh. And I keep referring to a lot of our TV and media because, those are a lot of the portrayals that I really enjoyed as well. And I love that this feels that way for me. It feels very much like a big movie with strong development and how it plays out. And it flashes back now to this sequence that I love with her trying to open the door to let him guess what she knows because she's not quite sure how to reveal all this stuff to him. And he's thinking she's talking about a secret of her own, not his. And how great was that in how it played out? Another great art sequence in this because he's totally clueless.
Yeah, I love just how when Lisa's just sitting there and she's trying to, and she's just going around about if you had a secret, if someone knew a secret, what do you, and just that whole page and that panel that I sat down and I had to read that just a couple times to really get all the words and everything said. And then right after I get done with that, Clark has the exact same reaction I had. Wow. I'm in sheer awe. I am in awe of the sheer architecture of that sentence. It was like looking at the Sistine Chapel. If the Sistine Chapel were made out of words.
What was great about it is he was listening to all of it, though.
Yeah.
And I like that even though he was clueless, he had all the traits that we love about Superman, right? You believe that Superman's the guy that if he's going to sit down, like I go back to the story that remember when Freddie did the art on that Blue Beetle issue with Superman and Blue Beetle and stuff, where Superman was like a really good listener and stuff like that. I really liked that, because that's something that sometimes seeing Superman one-on-one with people who look up to him and seeing him be a good listener and being that role model, that guy you can look up to and kind of go, he's kind of big brother in those moments. I really like seeing that side of him. So that played out here into that role of Clark, even though he's being, he's kind of a little dense to what's really going on there. I like the humanity of Superman. I don't need him perfect. As a matter of fact, sometimes you make him too perfect, you lose part of the charm. It's that he strives to do the right thing. He strives to learn from his mistakes. He strives to be there for people. He cares. That's the key to Superman. Superman doesn't need to be omnipotent. And you make him too godlike, you get disconnected with him and you don't really get to know him. You need this side. You need to see Clark into Superman and the fact that there is a human grounded guy. Where does the Kansas farm boy come in? Why do we like that so much? Because he's small hometown. He's accessible. This really does accessible very, very well.
Oh, God, yeah. And it's, again, just that cool sequence of, humanity and just that, he's completely clueless and he's running off because of this evil bridge is collapsing. And once again, we have a true villain in a bridge that, I wish, Superman could have had more time to fight and destroy the evilness that is this bridge, but he does have to save the innocent people on it. And I loved seeing him rush off. And as he's trying to catch it, he's just like, it was just that perfectly laid out, ruse to get Clark to start trusting Zod, and it's all these things are down. There's no way Clark's going to be able to catch all the pieces. Just he's like, oh no, Zod rushes in to save the day. And I love just how that all played out. This was a great seeing Superman basically put at his wit's end, pushed to his limit. Innocent people are going to die, but then somebody else runs in for the save at the last minute. My name is Zod L. I am a friend. I love just how that, I was like, dang, this is cool. This is just a really awesome just moment of introduction of another character, another way to just completely have Clark completely thrown off his game. Once again, the beauty and wonder that is Zod and his level of strategery has no equal.
Okay, sidebar here. And I'm going to ignore you said strategery.
Okay.
Little sidebar here. You talked earlier about how you don't normally like pure evil Zod.
Right.
And you liked it in this story, in the way that this pure evil Zod was developed. But I have to question now if you view this Zod as pure evil. Because, case in point, you find out later in the story that Zod recognized the evil of the bridge. So do you find yourself torn now? Is because your own hatred of bridges. For me, I do view him as pure evil. But in your case, do you find yourself troubled by the fact that in many ways he's lashing out on the bridge the way that you would like to?
Well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So, I guess I am the Zod L of this podcast.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned that. That's because, what I consider evil from a different perspective, you may consider heroic.
Yeah, there we go.
I really loved the introduction of the two of them together. This is one of the things that I love about Superman. Like, I was adopted, and I think as I'm older, I understand more like Superman as a character and how I relate to that part of him. To see this moment where he's discovering this person who came from his planet. I'm not from another world and all that kind of stuff, but I get kind of this idea of there's a curiosity to where you came from and what this person can really open your eyes to about that place. And you want to believe that this person is like you because they came from that place. Where it doesn't work is Zod didn't get raised by the Kents. And he also didn't get, wasn't born from Jor-El and Lara, but that really isn't where Clark gets his thing from. He gets it from the Kents. I mean, that's always been the case. And that's the part of the story I connect to. I have two wonderful parents. My mom and my dad will always be my mom and my dad, but they weren't my birth parents. I was adopted when I was an infant. And I'm really a big believer in, I've never sought out my birth parents. I'm not I'm thrilled to death that they made the decision to give me up for adoption. I don't mean that in a negative way against them, but I had a great home with great parents. I'm in my 40s. I don't have this kind of thirst to kind of go back and discover who I am, so to speak, because my parents made me who I am. So I relate to that part of Superman in the sense that he really is a product of the Kents. Really good parents who raised him well. They taught him values. It's what makes him human. At his best, Superman is the pinnacle of humanity. We want to be him. He's flawed, he's human, he makes mistakes and all that kind of stuff, but you want to believe that you're going to pick yourself up when you make a mistake, and the amount of weight that Superman has on his shoulders to kind of be that inspiration to everybody and kind of help the world move forward without making mistakes and without like his power, if we had it, how easy would it be to become corrupted by having Superman's power? You really would be pretty much unstoppable. You could go the evil route. You could go the Zod route very easily, or some amalgam in between, or even further. Knowing this world, you could make yourself rich. You could, there's so much you could do. You could sell yourself out, to the highest bidder, or you're a mercenary almost. And, what would people do? Nothing.
Yeah.
The great story about Superman is because he was raised so well, that doesn't even cross his mind. He just wants to help people. He looks at this as a gift that he can do something to help people with. And I love that he tries to see the best in others. You see that with the Zod storyline, that he's trying to extend the olive branch and right away sees that we don't need to go to blows right away. Let's get to know each other and see what we can do. And he's buying into the whole story that this is somehow this person who came here because his father sent him here. And, he's going to learn something from him. We're going to be friends, and we're going to look at, now I've got somebody else. Imagine what we can do to help the world together. That would be very, very attractive. I get it.
Oh, God, yeah. And I get it was something that I thought was really cool with this level, with this version of Zod, that they made him, I'm your uncle. And I love just how he was playing, how he played that off. And our family has been, it's our family has been used their fortune for the many families use fortune for personal gain. Our family used it to improve the lives of people, and just gave Clark this beautiful picture of their family, of how, they were just beacon of hope, and everything just was wonderful, for them on Krypton. And then the planet was tragically destroyed, and he doesn't go into details as to how it was tragically destroyed, but he was trying to get you just as the ship warped out of unknown destination. He's been searching the galaxy for him. I love just the the broad strokes that Zod painted, for Clark to believe and pull him in. Uh-huh. But the art choice throughout these panels was absolutely perfect. Yes. Because even as Zod is painting these beautiful brushstrokes and these beautiful picture, his representation is a little bit darker, a little bit, he always has the shadow over the eyes. The face always has the grimace. Even when Clark was born, you have the smiling mom and dad and Zod right there. Just he's in the background with the shadows and the hood down and shade covering his eyes. I was like, man, that is really cool, really awesome, telling just the way they're explaining and just showing just visual, different than what the actual words he's telling.
And especially because none of it's true.
Right.
I love the beauty that this visual is being crafted by his story that he's telling Clark, but it's not true. That's the beauty of it. He wasn't there at the birth. He wasn't there for any of that stuff. They're afraid of Zod. Zod was the all evil. But that was a great storytelling crafting, because I love when we can live through the eyes of our hero. And we're seeing the story that Zod's telling unfolded through Superman's eyes you get why Superman is starting to believe this guy, because it's an attractive story. Why wouldn't you? Especially with what Clark's been through, where aliens have come down and it's been a horrid thing. In the case of this, aliens come down and they're a friend like him. So he gets that. And this is almost, in a world right now that's having trouble validating him, this is another guy that can maybe, hey, look, you got us in stereo now. We're both here to help. And, how much more can I hit that home by having another guy who believes similarly to me. How great is this?
Yeah.
I'm not alone anymore in this.
And I like the fact that Clark's like, welcome to Earth, and just everything, how Clark is just that very positive looking at it. But we know later when he's talking to his mom that he doesn't completely buy the story. He wants to, because he wants to have that positive, but he doesn't completely buy what he's selling. He's got to be careful. He's got to, look at things and try to figure it out. I like the fact that, yes, Clark is believing. Yes, Clark wants to believe. But he's not completely throwing all his eggs into one basket saying, I'm all in 100% with this guy. That's, again, those are some cool Clark moments.
Now, like when you take a look at that page where there's like broken pieces of bridge in the hands of a fireman,
yeah,
do you like look at that and just start salivating and going, yes, finally somebody took it out? I mean, because you look at that, it starts at the beginning of the panel with like a really destroyed bridge, and then a fireman walking up with a piece of it. Like, would you take that home and like, put it on a mantle or something like that? What would you do?
Not that. More like, I think one of those big blocks of the concrete breaking, because that's really a destruction of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be more of a cool frameable thing. Or actually, you take it and you turn like a large slab of the actual broken, destroyed bridge, and you make it into like an end table or a coffee table and something like that.
Mm-hmm. Because I was thinking, you could almost make that like a drink cozy. Put that down there. What a great conversation piece.
Bookshelves, bookends.
Taking the joking out of it, I admire this in artwork a great deal. We've talked about it with many artists and colorists that we've had on the show, but I notice it at times. The fireman's helmet, the reflection. I love those kind of details because it just adds a reality to me. They're in both panels, where you see just different reflections of the environment around him or the people looking at him on the helmet. And or even a distortion of the numbers in the back because of light sourcing on that visor that's there. That stuff is really important to me because it adds a realism to it. I know it takes an artist a lot of time to do that, and a colorist and the whole team. I'm still wrapping my head around the dynamic of how that works. But I really appreciate those little fine details. They're small, and they add something, like the lens on Jimmy's camera, even though, we've got some light sourcing there, as far as just like the kind of the bending of the light. Yeah. So the lens looks like that. I'm into that kind of stuff. I think it's really important. I admire artists that take the time to do it. I think it's something you probably have a little bit more time to do on a volume like this. And those fine details really pay off, and they add and make it something special when you see those moments.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree with you. Those are some really cool stuff with just, again, little attention to detail. And this art team really just, did an absolute beautiful job with this book. And it's because when I gush about the story, it's not just the written story or how it's laid out. It is the visual look of this story as well that really, really sells it for me.
Zod is very interesting here because he really doesn't want to kill Clark. He wants to break Clark. There's a huge distinction on what he wants to do. He wants him to kneel. Yes. And seeing the manipulation here in his debate of, as a last resort, hey, we got to kill him. But that's a last resort. We want to break him down, and he doesn't put it that way, but we know as the reader where this is going in those moments. And I loved how that played out, that twist. It means more with seeing the powerful moments with Zod and Clark earlier to this. Like the other shoe dropped. We saw it with the bridge. Now we're seeing it pay out more. This is, again, great pacing. Pacing is really something that really struck me throughout all this. There isn't a dead moment. It's a constant story build. It moves at a great pace where you're excited and drawn through, but you're not rushed through. You get to enjoy and bask in the unfolding drama. And that's something that's really great about these original hardcovers that I really enjoy, is the fact that you get to just kind of bask in the experience. And it just when you think like it's going to end because you're used to the 22-page book, it just keeps going. And you get more. And I really like that part. Yeah. And again, it was another really cool just moment of the bad guy. And I understand why the UN did what they did, but you get to sit there and I'm just like, I'm smacking myself going, dudes,
Come on. Just because he's coming up to you saying, that guy's the bad guy, but I'm a good guy, you're going to believe him? Come on. And it was just sitting there, and I was like, throughout this, I understood exactly why the story went this way. I understood why the people did it. It adds to, again, the realism of it. But I did chuckle and I did laugh, and just because I'm like, oh man, this is just so going to end horrible wrong for these people. And they don't really truly see what they're up against. And I like the fact that they made this human mistake where they're trusting Zod and they're agreeing to not get involved. But it's even interesting because you think about what they're agreeing. They're not saying we're going to help you kill him. They're saying we're just going to hands off. We're just going to not do anything. It's going to be one of those things where they say, hey, we're just going to see how this plays out. And for me, that had more of a political and politicians' mindset where they're like, we're just going to hang back and see what happens here. We're not going to go one way or the other. We're not going to do support, but we're not going to help knock him down when he's down. We're going to see what this plays out. And it's that fence straddling, that happens in a lot of politics that I thought, again, a very real, true, human way of handling things.
It is what leads to frustration with today's politics.
Yes.
This happens a lot, and it's very rare. You do see good politicians that go out there and aren't afraid to take a stand and don't get pulled into this kind of stuff. But you see this more often nowadays, and this is what people get frustrated and upset about. It's like, no, take a stand, and I think it's harder to take a stand nowadays. Because of the way the media works, and basically get crucified for taking your stand. Yeah. So it's. I think politics is a lot harder because of it. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, and I'm so glad you pointed this out, because this is what makes this story feel contemporary. This is very today. The politics in this are very today. Yeah. The stance was very today. That's how things would go today. Would eventually the governments possibly step in? Yes, but very hands-off is, we're not doing anything right now. We're going to kind of see how this plays out and see which side we should believe. I don't know which side I think's right or wrong on that one. I mean, as the Superman fan, I immediately think they're wrong for not stepping in and standing behind Superman. But in the real world, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how you do react to that. And that's the part where I thought that was a great debate.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I read this, a couple times, I started to put myself, what if I was sitting in one of those chairs? How would I handle this? What would I have done? And, me, Jim, who knows about Superman, would handle it one way. But if I did no knowledge beyond what they know here, I probably would have done, set up for a double cross. I would have said, sure, yeah, we'll hang back. We'll let this happen. The whole time telling him, okay, as soon as Superman's down, blast the other guy really quick so he can't do anything either. Let's take them both out. I honestly, that was part of the things that I hate to say that I'm a little underhanded that way, but if I'm being completely honest, if I had been in this situation, I know that's a thought that would have run through my head. And, I'm kind of glad I'm glad they didn't really do that. And and just how it played out, I liked how they approached this, how they went with this. They didn't make the stand, but it's funny because just me being the Superman fan that I am. But if I got to be completely honest, if I didn't know anything about the guy, I wouldn't be that trusting. I'm a professional skeptic. This is kind of the area where I don't take people at at face value. I can't take their word. I got to verify what they're saying. I got to verify, is this true? What is it really? What's the unknown out there?
I'm going to have to verify that you verify.
Yes. Well, we had people who verify that I verified.
But are they verified? See, I'm going to have to verify the people that verify that you verify.
Actually, they are verified because we have our federal examiners come in and verify everything we do.
They verify your stance?
They verify, yeah.
Your stance on comics?
No.
But see, I want to verify somebody verifying your verification of this verification.
I'm confused.
I was like so laughing at your little, and I'm the natural skeptic, and I've got I love that whole spiel. was great because it's so you, and it's true. And I love that the story got you that way. I'm sorry, I was literally being a pest on purpose.
I'm used to it.
Did you? Rightfully so. Babylon 5. I forget in our discussions we've talked about Straczynski's work before. Did you watch Babylon 5, or was that like something that just didn't wind up on your radar? Where were you at on that?
I've watched some of it, not enough that I would say I know people, but I know some of the characters. I know some of the stuff that happened and whatnot throughout it, but not 100%. I wouldn't call myself a Babylon 5 fan just because I haven't seen enough episodes. And that's one of the series that I always keep telling myself, man, I should go back and get my hands on it and watch it because I think I would really love it. And I know, Brother Bill's listening right now going, yes, you should. And yes, you would.
I would highly recommend if you watch it, get through the first season, and I really liked the first season. Don't get me wrong, but the second season there's some changes that happen, and it really kicks off. And I watched it from beginning to end, and I watched the movies that they did, and all kinds of extra material that went along with it. I loved every minute of Babylon 5. The reason why I'm referencing it. One of the things that's great about Straczynski as a writer, and when he crafts a series like Babylon 5, and we see it here in Earth 1, and I think it's worth noting, it's the politics we were talking about before, the character development and drama, the real world feel where like characters are three-dimensional and they're fleshed out and they've got their own backstories, and the backstories play into the interactions between the characters. We see that with Lisa and Clark. We see that with Lois and Clark. We see that with the Daily Planet. We see that with the politics of the government. We see it with Zod, with Superman. The twists and turns and those just really well done. I'm so glad that with these 3 volumes, he's had an open landscape. I don't know how this kind of works, but by giving him Earth 1, he doesn't have to deal with the continuities that everybody else is. And I love continuity. I'm a continuity junkie, but I like the Earth 1 continuity. So I really like that this is Earth 1, and he doesn't have to deal with a whole bunch of other stuff going around him. He's able to craft it from beginning, middle, and ending. It's just a different sort of delivery. And I want to see more of these because of this kind of thing. It does hearken to what I loved about everything I just said right now is what I loved about Babylon 5. It's not one of those series that you can really jump on in the middle. You can and kind of start to figure things out and get into the episodes and follow it, but you're really better served with Babylon 5, watching it from the beginning. As a fan of the series, I highly recommend for people that you get through season 1, give season 2 a chance, and decide if it's for you. I know that's kind of a strange thing to say, get through a whole season in order to do that, but to me, it really started kicking off in season 2. Season 2 is really where I was hooked. I loved season 1, but season 2 really was the one where I'm like, oh, wow, this is something different, and it's a different level. And I really enjoyed that series, and I would recommend it a lot, especially if you like this product, because this is the type of writing that is in the whole series of Babylon 5. So just a little sidebar because it's just great stuff, and I'm a huge fan.
I can always tell when you go off on a couple minute rant on a complete sidebar. Yeah, Sean's a huge fan of that.
Well, and this is the creator of Babylon 5, so it really it's very relevant. It's not like a sidebar that has nothing to do with this discussion, although we're very known for that. In this particular case, it actually is relevant to the book that we're doing.
One of the things that we've been throwing out the theme of just Clark's humanity, and it's again when he's talking to Mom on the phone. I love the fact that Mom completely knew exactly how Lisa felt and what she was all about. She's never met the person just from Clark talking about her. And it was just those cool, just those moms always know type of mindset. And again, these were some great panels, but it's also just that we know Clark has that fear of people getting hurt. Can't let people in. He can't, what would happen if they get hurt, because he's Superman. But Mom has just that great line. Never turn your back on love, Clark, in whatever form it takes. I love that. It was just, again, these were just some cool mindsets, just the wit and wisdom, of Ma Kent that is just outstanding. And again, I'm like, man, this is awesome.
The unfolding Lois story, where Lois discovers what's going on. We see her do it with Perry, but then the realization, like, oh no, Superman needs to know this yesterday. This has to know. He has to know this now because this could be doomsday for him. Really loved how that played out, and it was too late. I love that it was too late.
Yeah.
I liked seeing her. Her strength is really important to me, and she didn't hesitate. She went and like, I've got to do something about this. I've got to get in there now. You know, for everything that Lois is someone of integrity. You know, we talk about journalistic integrity and things like that. I think Lois embodies that when she's written really, really well. Yes, she goes after the story and she wants it to be the best and she wants to scoop everyone and she wants the Pulitzer Prize and that whole bit that we've always seen with Lois. But that's also built around an integrity. And she believes in getting the truth out there, not sensationalism, the truth out there. And she had a moment here to like, just, you know, wow, I need to make a difference. I could do that with Superman and tell him something right here. And it's just a little bit too late. Really loved how that all played out.
Yeah. And again, it was just that moment of that rushing through, you know, seeing her rush through the city and just seeing her, you know, when she recognized what needs to be done. It's again, those are some cool Lois Lane moments. And it was funny because it's going right off of the fact that Clark realizes that Lisa knows. So he's kind of on a little emotional roller coaster of, oh, crud, she knows the secret. And then Zod steps in saying, hey, let's go for a talk. I gotta, you know, I gotta show you something that, you wish show you things you've wished you've ever known. And it was just that great stuff where, you know, Zod again is leading Clark away from, you know, just leading Clark into the trap. And it's just, I loved how these panels just played out, especially because it just shows just that one split second away from, from death and life, and just how much these things are just interconnected. These were some really cool moments of boom, 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 stuff that it's a 2-page panel, but it's coming to life. And again, art sequencing just goes from moments of just kind of an almost villainous, evil look, on our military people who are really saying, no, we're not really the bad guys here, but are they really? I don't know. To then just that panel where right before the kryptonite's revealed, you see Zod click on his fake skin, his secondary skin that's going to protect him. Something I got to admit, I didn't notice the first time. When I was first reading through this, I didn't notice that little subtle click and see the shimmer go across his face, which was the activating of that kryptonite armor.
Well, the click that you see there, too, is also the opening of the ship.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really liked about how that sequence played out, too, is besides seeing all that, I liked that Clark wasn't instantly powerless. This was weakening him. But this is a guy who has had his whole life of experience using these powers. Zod's the ultimate strategist. He's the general. He's got the military skills, but he doesn't have the life experience with the powers. Clark does. And we see Clark using that to his advantage here, where he knows Zod's got a skill set that Clark does not have, but Clark's got a skill set that Zod doesn't have. And we see it play out here. It looks different, and it should look different, like using the powers, bursting up the water, using that as a way to freeze and then smash what was going on with Zod's little like shield that you were talking about there, and giving himself a wiggle room to get away, then looking for help, because that's Superman. He's like, hey, I've helped you. I could use a little help here. Can you be here for me now the way I've been there for you in the past? And that reality in that moment was something that I really loved. And then where would Clark go? Of course, to the only place he could, to go back to the fortress, and he needs to find out exactly what the real history of Zod is, what really happened there. And this is not that pleasant story that we saw of Zod earlier. It was something vastly different. And to see that Zod was the catalyst of destroying Krypton, different take. He wanted to destroy the planet that badly and the people because they were no longer worthy. And that kind of evil was something I really liked, that twist. Something different. It doesn't fit our world and our Superman, it does fit the Earth 1 world, and it gives it a distinction. Really like when you do this, because this is where you can tell a story and kind of go, but what if? What if Zod was responsible? What if he was that evil? What would that do when he came to Earth? How would that make him different? How could he still be Zod like we know and love, but how could he be Zod that's just more twisted and more, more of this? And I really liked that about this. I liked that you can stay in the familiar wheelhouse while at the same time stretching our thought process. This is what do we love about books like What If? What do we love about Elseworlds? It's that creators can play around with that. I think it's far more interesting when you do it and stay closer, like this does. It gets you excited. I don't want to see Earth 1 end anytime soon. I want to keep seeing more. I want one every year. I want to keep reading this, and I hope there's plans for Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6. I hope that Straczynski wants to do more of these, and I would love to see this same art team because I think they just really delivered some great artistic storytelling. I want to know more.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, and again, just this layout of just the level of nastiness that Zod had, and, not only just a 6-month civil war raged on. This was, he initially had his attack, he initially had everything going on, and he really was just pounding on it. And as he starts to lose, as he realizes this is it, it's done, okay, well, I'll just destroy everybody. And I love the fact that we get the villains from the earlier issues are the actual people who were hired who were given the task to destroy Krypton and hunt down, and if you can't kill every one of them, I will do the rest. Let no one survive. No one. And I love the fact that it was the fact that everything that we've seen already through the previous stuff has come to play on this, where these creatures who were there to kill Clark before are, we're really from Zod. We're we're all part of Zod's plan to destroy the planet. And even when Clark reaches to the spaceship saying to ship, hey, help me out here. What's the plan? Your best plan is to run. Leave Earth, and hopefully Zod will follow you. If not, you're going to die. You fight Zod, you die. And I love the fact that the ship is telling him you have no chance, but Clark still's like, I can't do that. I can't just abandon this planet. Even though the planet has abandoned him, Clark's not going to give up on them. And I love, again, that's Superman. That is the classic. That is who Superman's about.
It is his home, too. And he views it as his home. That's the part that I really love about it, is that there's that dynamic. And he knows there's people who love and care about him on this world. Lisa being one of them. His mom being one of them. So, he's rushing back there to fight Zod, to stop Zod from going after his mom. Lisa seeing that, I love how she was brought into this. Again, I'm rooting for her. I loved every appearance with her. I think she was one of the better used characters in this. In every time that she came on, she added something to the dynamic. It made it more intense. You saw in this particular sequence, you're almost seeing the battle from her perspective and being a part of it that way, which I'm always a fan of. Taking us to then Lex and Alexa and the ongoing debate over the fact that, okay, now we've got to use this prototype and try to go out there. They don't have enough information. And I really get that part of this, that they don't have enough information and they're reacting off of the limited information that they have.
Yeah. And again, these were just some really cool moments of, it's funny because, as I said, the first time when I'm reading this, I had just this negative connotation towards Alexia, knowing that she does really love and care for Lex, but it is just that, the only person who can do it is him. And I love how, again, lettering takes it really small. It's like, it'll take me a few minutes to set up the prototype. God help me. Just nice, soft, subtle, just him saying, this is it. I got to do this. And he doesn't want to. He doesn't, but they got to get the power out of the sky because innocent civilians are dying. And is that completely the whole reason they're doing it? Are they picking sides? There is going to be always a debate in my head how much of this is what they're actually saying. How much of this is they're trying to set up Superman for the fall? I don't know. I think that's the cool part about this story, where we know we got bad guys. We know we've got, it's that gray side of the bad guys, where what is their true motivation? Is it to save innocent lives, or is it to take out the Superman?
Lex and Alexa and the shooting of the gun. When Zod's ready to go after Mom and all that, and there's that shooting of the gun, and Lex is like sitting there going, Superman, don't go, because he really doesn't want to kill somebody. There is I've consented to the fact that this is the right thing to do, but I don't want to kill this man. That's not who I am. That's not what I'm all about. And he's apologizing for it and feels torn over it. The relationship with him and Alexa and how that's going. You did the right thing, Lex. The only thing. But he's still doing the debate. And I like that he's not just a drone. I like that she's not a drone. I like that there's a philosophical discussion going on between them. Because you don't have the yes dear on either side. They're both strong-willed, intelligent individuals that respect each other enough to talk all of this out all the way through. It's something different, something unique, and it really that added to the drama for me. As much as everything that was going on with Zod going, see how they betrayed you? Because he's really basically trying to say, you're above this. We're above this. Join me. Kneel before me. And we can, really just take over this world. That's really what he's going for there. Yeah.
Zod, again, I always liked the kneel before Zod line. I always liked that. And the fact that originally, he did say, similar to Jor-El, he's saying it to Clark, but it's like, it's not only after you kneel before me and beg for death. This again, I love this Zod. I really absolutely love just how nasty he is. Clark's falling to his death. Oh, no. Your death will not be that simple or easy. Zod's going to beat him to death. And a powerless Superman against a superpowered Zod is absolutely just that fight where you're just sitting there going, oh, my God, no. And I love seeing Lisa. I love seeing Lois and Perry watching, just everyone watching in horror about this is wrong. This is sadistic. Just how it's affecting everyone, just watching Zod slowly take him apart. There's a rib. There's another one. And he just completely just trying to beat, Clark to complete and total submission and also beg for death. It's not just bow down. It's not just kneel. He wants him to beg to kill him. It was just some great sadist moments. And I was like, man, this is an awesome villain.
Yeah. And that stuff is really critical over that, to see this great villain and how that all plays out. I loved the bits, again, with Lisa, where she's watching this on the screen. You see the tears in her eyes, but then we flash to the reporters and their analysis of the situation, but trying to... our job is to analyze the news, not make it. We watch what happens and we write it down. God forgive us. And really one of those things where he's kind of like, I want to help. We should help. And there's something to that, which is really interesting. I understand Perry's debate, but I like that he wasn't happy with that either. Clark never giving up.
Right.
I'm just loving that sequence right there. No, and Lex and Alexa, going back to the debate, this pacing and unfolding drama, and then you go to the non-traditional panels, including the central one that is based on the Diamond, Superman show, where you see the family who are Superman fans watching it. Yeah. I really loved that design, because you're seeing kind of what you saw with the Zod breaking down everybody before, but now it's the emotional turmoil people are going through, watching and witnessing this battle. Because Superman saved the world. They know that. And there's people who are fans of him because of that. And they are afraid of him. They look to him for leadership. And it really flies in the face of what Zod's saying. They betrayed you. No, a small group did.
Yeah.
Not the people watching there who are behind him and rallying and scared for him and wearing his T-shirts and those type of things. Those are the people that care about him and stand by him. And that helps to drive Clark. And he's not going to let anything happen to his mom if he can prevent it. I love that. This is, he's still, her son, and he's going to be the last line of defense if he has to. Just terrific.
Yeah, and I loved when, Clark borrows the person's cell phone so he can call mom one last time. But not only that, he tells them, stay back in case. Basically, in case Zod's, flying after him, about to, do something, keep your distance. So even while he's on his last death, his last legs, this is it. In his mind, he's like, I'm about to die, but I'm still going to think about others. I'm still going to say, don't do this, keep back. Again, those are just some really cool Superman moments. And, it's just, I love the fact that he's got just that one final, I love you, Mom, goodbye. And it's, again, as much as Clark is this alien, he is that Kansas farm boy. He is that guy who's never going to say die, and he's got no chance against him. He's barely able to stand. He's like, let's do this. And you see him, it's that gut check of the hero. Just like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to keep swinging. I ain't going down yet. Again, beautiful artwork being told here where it really just pulls out an emotion where you're like, come on, figure out a way. Something's got to happen. And you see Lex is left. And you're like, so immediately you start thinking, okay.
Wait 1 second before you go on to that, though, because there's a panel that you're missing in this that because I agree with everything you're saying. I don't want to gloss over the fact that he smashed the phone afterwards.
Yes.
Another way of protecting his mom. Because not only Zod knows where mom's at, sure. But nobody else can find out who mom is or where mom is at because he's crushed the phone. I love that bit. It was just kind of a little attention to detail that I really enjoyed. I'm sorry, go ahead and go back to what you're going to say about Lex, because I loved that. I love tiny details like that. I thought it was great that he's like, you know what? In this moment, the phone has to be smashed too because Zod can't use it to find out where she is. Nobody else can. She can go on and move along at this point and hopefully get away from all of this. Really great stuff.
Yeah, and I agree completely with you. I love the fact that it was the smashing of the phone, and it wasn't even a protection from Zod. That was a protection against the everyday people.
Sure,
completely agree with you. And then it's kind of so cool because you're getting this, and then you're seeing Lex, run into the to the scene. He's got his ray, and you immediately start thinking, okay, he's going to even the field. Maybe this is how Clark's going to survive this, but. Again, Lisa to the rescue. Lisa still buys Clark time, and I thought, again, another moment where I'm like going, this is it, here's where Lisa dies. And I didn't want to think it because she was such a great character, but it was, again, that final moment. He's got him, Zod's got him down, but Lisa hits him with a truck. You gotta love it. The fact that, again, just that desperate throwing out the Hail Mary, trying to buy Clark some time, get him some time to get away, get him some chance to survive. And even she is like, run, Clark, run. With what could have been the death blow, could have been her final voice, could have been her final words. You don't know it. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. Don't die, Lisa. Don't die.
Lex redeeming himself and firing off the weapon and it not having the charge that he needed to and just urging Superman, hey, you got to know, he doesn't have the charge. He didn't get hit the way you did. This is going to even up the playing field, maybe just enough for this to happen. Leading to the battle between Superman and Zod, which was awesome. But to me, the death of Lex was the part that he was trying to do the right thing. He recognized, I goofed. I made a mistake. And I've got to make it right. And in that whole process, did all that. What I love is, in that process, Alexa wasn't with him. She didn't see what happened there. She will never know exactly what that looked like. That was one of the great things about this, is that she will never know exactly what that looked like, but then shows up on the scene and shoots down Zod. And it builds into the tragedy of this story. That was the part of the love that I just really loved about this, is that sequence with the two of them. It was just moment after moment after moment. I could not stop reading this. I started reading it when it first came out very late at night. And I thought I'll start reading part of it and, finish the rest of it tomorrow was my plan. when I started getting to these sequences, I'm like, oh, well, no way, I'm putting this book down. I'm just, more, please, give me more. And I just kept turning and reading and enjoying. And it was funny, my next night wound up being my second read through where I was really more kind of doing an analysis of the whole thing. I could not put this down when I was reading it. And that's been very consistent with the Earth One books. It's once you start reading these things, they pull you in and they suck you in and they just keep you going. And they're big tomes. I mean, compared to, you're reading quite a few comic books in one sitting when you're doing that. And I love that. The story depth, there's nothing that's fluff. They really tell a lot of drama. The moment of Lex's death, I thought was just such a heart-wrenching moment that you can get, when you turn the page, why she's like, this is all your fault, and shooting on Clark. I loved how that all played out and was so glad. We knew that his powers were going to be back at that point, but it's bittersweet.
Yeah, it's funny because, as I said earlier, I'm usually not a fan of the pure evil Zod, and this one I loved. And I'm also not usually a fan of killing off a big bad villain like this. But I absolutely loved this. I thought this was a great way of how they handled it, especially everything you said, how she wasn't there to see everything that happened. Now, she's smart enough that she probably figured out that it was Zod who killed Lex, but she wasn't there to actually see Lex knowingly pretty much sacrifice himself to save Superman. She wasn't there to see that Lex, this is the right thing. And, maybe she would have had less of a hatred towards, Superman if she had seen it, but maybe not. You're not 100% certain how she would have played, how she, because she's really angry and just, this is, again, this is the person, her one true love, the one person that she felt was her equal in this world. Because both of these two always had that smarminess where everybody else was just a step beneath them, just a step slower and just not on their level. These two saw each other as equals. And it was a really cool to see her completely lose it, completely pure emotional, where, she, just completely lights up Zod, and then she starts firing on, Clark to the point where she's still pulling the trigger as it's empty. And I always like seeing that kind of visual in movies where people are just keep firing, even though nothing's coming out, because it's just pure rage and anger and just pure emotion where they're not actually thinking, saying, okay, I'm not actually firing anymore. I can stop pulling the trigger. It takes her four trigger pulls before she'll finally stop.
I was glad Clark took the prototype with him.
Oh, God, yeah. And especially because all the previous panels where Lex and Alexa kept saying, Lex is the only one who understands this. It's going to take, Alexa years to figure it out. I love the fact that, again, nice little attention to detail and Clark thinking on his feet saying, let me take this with me.
I love that shot of him flying off with it, where the moon's in the background and he's up in the sky. Just a great shot of the suit. Something very iconic about it. I really like this version of the suit. It's a good version of the suit.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And the battle damage and just the blood and just he was in a world war. He was in a massive, massive fight. He's going to be hurting. He's just getting his strength back. He's just getting his powers back. That was a cool look, but also the cool battle damage look as well.
Interesting how the whole sequence with Lisa plays out, where she reveals that she loves him, and I like that Clark's not sure where the relationship's going, but the typical Superman fashion, gives the diamonds so that way to make sure that she gets the best care possible, because we know that Superman can crush them and make the diamonds. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I always like the when they do little stuff like that, and again, it's Clark at any point in time could have made his life so much easier. He wouldn't be living in that, the apartment he's living at. All he had to do is do a couple diamonds or, find some gold and whatnot, and using the powers to advantage. But that's not what Clark's about. Instead, he's going to do this to help Lisa, make sure she's got a good hospital, because she doesn't have any medical. She doesn't have any type of insurance. It's, this is the only way he's going to pay for it. And she's getting first class care now. And I loved just, again, it's Clark chooses to use the powers when he chooses to use them. It's only when it's the right thing to do.
Seeing her love for Lex in her dialogue there,
Yeah.
And how she's kind of adopting that as a role. He was so beautiful, so beautiful. Again, there's that soft tone to her voice when it goes there. I really liked the use of lettering in this. And I want to publicly apologize to letterers in general. I don't acknowledge enough on the podcast because a lot of times it's subtle. And it's really the job of the letterer to guide you through that and do that subtly so it's not so in your face and not distracting from the art and the story that's being told. It's meant to evoke subtly, very ninja-like, emotions in there. I just love that in this one, it was a story where I happened to notice what a letterer brings to the table, and I really liked how that was done. I don't know how that goes with scripting and direction and how that all works, but I've just got to commend the whole team because this is a beautiful piece, this whole story, because of every member of the team that was involved in this. And it really shows that this was a team dynamic. I was so excited when she said, "Call me Lex." I'm like, oh, is this where it's going? And I didn't see it ending up here. And I love that I was blown away by that. And that just made it all the more exciting. I want to see the follow-up to this. I want to see her versus Superman. I want to see that because it just feels fresh.
Oh, God. And even just the build-up to that. Lex isn't dead. It was Alexandria who died last night in the middle of the street. So I don't answer to that name anymore. From now on, call me Lex. And again, I love the fact that we have a female Lex Luthor in this universe. And it's not even, again, it wasn't something they advertised saying, hey, we're going to have a female Lex Luthor. No, it's letting the story tell itself. It's letting it play out. It's not we have a really cool, adversary for Superman. It's not that we have a really cool female adversary. No, this is Lex. This is his villain. This is the human who thinks he is a menace to society and who wants to take him out. It's it's the iconic Lex Luthor story. It is everything that I always like, man, this is cool. All in this package. And I'm outstanding, just absolutely thrilled at how the birth of this Lex Luthor.
I loved the whole government speech and how that book ended. To me, this is another advantage of telling a story like this and bringing in the politics because it's really important. What the hell were you thinking? But he said it a lot more loudly, but then the speech that followed it was so critical. Look, I get it. I do. I'm not like everybody else around here. I can do things nobody else can do. I get it. But what you need to get is that I am not your enemy. I am not any kind of enemy. I am here to help you, all of you. I realize now that what happened in Barada was a mistake. My intentions were good, but it scared you. And as much as I hate to admit it, you were right to be scared. I crossed a line that should not have been crossed. I give you my word that I'll try never to cross that line again. Will I make mistakes in the future as we try to work this out? Probably yes. This is a new situation for all of us. But I think that over time, working in good faith, we will find that balance. That said, there's something I should point out. This is the best part. I just so adored this. If anything happens to me, if someone like Zod or Tyrell or the next nutbar to roll off the galactic rim actually does manage to kill me, you need to understand that whoever is powerful enough and big enough to finish me off almost certainly won't stop there. So I'm not going to stand here and appeal to your charity or your kindness or even your humanity, as much as I value and cherish all of those things about the human race. I'm speaking to your sense of enlightened self-interest. I'm not the problem. The problem will be whoever is standing behind me when and if I fall. I'm here to help. I swear that to you on my honor, and I hope to prove that to you in coming years. So do all of the governments that decided to look the other way in this last incident, except when you were actively helping with my attempted murder, never, ever do that again. The speech, very eloquent, very Superman, and Superman to me is great when you show his humanity, you show his strength and weaknesses, but then you show him rise up and lead And this is my, we get in the example of the reluctantly. There's nothing reluctant about that.
Well, of course not. Not in this Earth. This is a different Earth.
This is my Superman.
Oh, God. That was such a hoorah moment. I was cheering. I was high-fiving. I absolutely love the speech, and I'm glad you went with it. And we didn't just, talk about it, but those were the power of the actual words being said, the visuals of him standing there. And I love that as he's talking, you get moments where you're seeing the panel, but in the end there, it starts zooming in, and you see that intensity on his face. You see the fact that never, ever do that again. I was like, yes, this is awesome.
Lois and Clark having moments together. But here's the thing. Lex, she preserved the body, right?
Oh, I mean, yeah, like it's in some type of chamber, and you see the bubbling liquid, so she's not completely giving up on him. Lex may not be 100% dead. He's mostly dead.
Or is she going to use that as a way to tap into the brain without speed things up? Who knows? Who knows where that's going to go?
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anytime they put somebody in something like that, anytime they Nora freeze you, that's not going to be good.
The first thought, and this is me just throwing an idea that popped in my head, is Brainiac. What if this version of Brainiac is Lex's brain inside a cybernetic type body?
Yeah, I don't know.
A Kryptonite man is actually Lex's brain in a Kryptonite body armor or something. There's so many different things that, Metallo is Lex. Lex becomes Metallo. There's so many things are racing through my head when I saw that panel. And once again, I cheered because Lex is still alive. There's another, we know this isn't a throwaway. This is going to make an appearance either volume 4, maybe volume 5. Not 100% certain, but we're going to get some more out of this.
Yeah. Very interesting with Clark and Lois, and I love that he really reflects on the whole experience and what he's learned from it, and how he's basically said, I need advice, and I need people I can trust, and to be able to vent, and to be able to really go to people who aren't afraid to tell me something that's the opposite of what I'm thinking. Really call me into check. I think it's one of the reasons why Batman and Superman get along so well. Their differences. Clark respects from Batman that Batman's going to see things in a way that he never will. No matter what. He will not be able to see things the way Batman will. And that works so well here with Lois Lane. And I love that he disappears on her a la Batman. Yeah. Such a great, the point taken line. Yeah. Really, really such a great moment. This is after the climax of the battle, and there's so much great story that comes by afterwards. I didn't think, wow, they're even going to, we want to see Lisa meet Ma Kent, right?
Oh, God, yeah. And again, this was a cool panel because you see Ma setting up the table, but through the window, you see Clark flying in with Lisa in his arms, carrying her to see Mom. And I was like, man, that's awesome. It was, you get this cool moment of mother, son, just, hugging Clark, you're home. Yay. This is Lisa. Hey, and all that. But you see those little subtle panels in the side there. I was like, man, that's awesome.
I loved seeing at the fortress that he's trying to craft Zod's suit. Yeah. And that's one of the parts of Superman. I like the Superman that's smart and, uses his intelligence to craft things and design things. And he was going back for that kryptonite, but it's already taken. And we see that Lex is the one that has it. I love calling her Lex now because it's so really great. The kicker for me at the end, and this made me smile ear to ear. What a geek out moment when, Lisa's kissing him and he's called away and she's like, but can I do it? Can I do it? Yeah. What a purely cool geek out moment. And Lois throwing on the signal and I don't know. I just love this whole world. It makes me smile. There's something uplifting about it. This story had great pacing. It ended really strong. There was not a wasted page, and it really leaves you feeling good. Superman's story, in and of itself, it's why do we like in the movies when Superman's, the classics where Superman's out in space flying around the Earth? there's something uplifting about that, thinking that he's out there looking over us and helping. When he flies to Lois and that whole signal bit, it just worked for me. It's not something I want to see in every Superman story. I want to see it in this world, though. This world works for me. Every aspect of this world works for me. That's a home run victory for the entire creative team. I want more. When it ended, my only sadness when it ended was I'm going to have to hopefully wait another year and get another one.
I know. They have to have more of these. They have to have more of these because this was just absolutely wonderful. Yeah, every time one of these books come out, I'm like, I always order it just, because I've enjoyed the series so much. But as I'm getting into it, I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. And you get this really cool excitement and just enjoyment, from, these stories. Because this is still Superman. This is still, it's, the different Earth, a little different taste, little different tweaks here and there. But it is heart and soul. This is Superman. These are the stories I love. And I'm like really digging this, really excited for what's going to come down the line next.
With these stories and with the Earth One storyline, do you find yourself wanting them to just continue to stick to Superman, Batman? I know they've done Teen Titans and stuff like that. Or do you hope that we'll get like Wonder Woman, The Flash, and are there people that you would like to see in Earth One? Where are you at on that?
Oh, I'm definitely. I would like to see more. And it's part of the. I like this format. I like what they're doing, and I think you let the creative team have fun with it. You let them do their thing, and I think with Earth One, you need to have a bigger name. You need to have like Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Aquaman, Flash. For me, I would like to see Wonder Woman, which I think has been planned or they're working on it. And I'd also like to see Aquaman, just, the core traditional people, see what they're going to do with Aquaman. Because we've got a cool Aquaman on Earth. Let's see how they play with the Aquaman of this planet.
Yeah, I would be into that as well. There's a lot of advantages to being able to kind of take this and look at the core of who these characters are. Here's my thing. Whatever they do, I want to see more Earth One Superman. DC's batting very high with Superman right now. I mean, I have no fault on anything they're doing Superman right now. I'm loving Superman. I love that I'm loving Superman because Superman's a fantastic character. I've had many eras in my life where I've really been very Superman happy. I am excited for anything with a Superman name on it at the moment. So there's this really great shift. I'm a Batman fanatic and loving Batman. I think what they've done with the Batman verse has been great. I love that I'm feeling equally as strong about the Superman universe right now. You should be. It's Superman. I mean, this is a big character, but it hasn't always been this way with him. He tends to have these waves, and I'm glad that we are in a high of Superman right now. I want more. I want more. And that is really the sign of a successful group of books and storytelling right now with Superman. I hope people are reading this stuff, especially this. I really, if you don't pick up these Earth One volumes, they're available still. You can pick them up at instocktrades.com. Go to dcbservice.com, use the Comixology app and buy it. And I encourage you to do that with our show sponsor. Please go to their website and do that. Just because of the fact that they've been so good to us and to other podcasts out there. But when you click on that, you can order the digital versions of Earth One. Show DC with your money that you really like these books, or give them a shot if you haven't read them before. And really, let's send the message that we want more of this content. But I can't encourage you enough. Go back to Volume 1 and read this from the beginning if you haven't, because it's really, really good material. And I'm glad we had a chance to talk about this on this episode.
Holy caffeine!
Want to remind everyone about our show website, ragingbullets.com. That's the place to find out news about when new episodes are released. It does feed into our Twitter. We also have a Raging Bullets Facebook page. That's a regular fan site page. But we have a Raging Bullets Facebook group. And that group is an amazing group. It's a great community of people who are just fans of comics and pop culture. They really have taken the group concept to a whole other level. And I'm just proud to be associated with it, and I want to thank all the amazing people that are there. If you've never done a Facebook group before, I encourage you to go there, because this is just safe, open, fun chat by fans who aren't afraid to geek out, which is, I think, a great shift in the internet culture. We're seeing more and more groups coming up of people who aren't on the internet to be crabby. They're on the internet just to have fun and hang out and chat about things that interest them relating to hobbies. So I would definitely check out the Raging Bolts Facebook group. We are also on Google Plus, and we have personal Facebook pages and personal Google Plus pages, so feel free to add us on any of those. We love having you part of the show, and we love interacting with you. Sponsoring us once again is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, remember to check out the new deals that will be arriving this week over at DCBService.com, the March pre-orders. Over at InStockTrades.com, I want to remind everyone to please check out their deals of the week, but also check out the other specials on their site. One of the cool areas that I also like on InStockTrades.com, when you go there, they have their top sellers. And, like top seller number 2 is one of my favorite books, Scalped. Hardcover deluxe edition, volume 1 is 45% off, only $16.49. So you can look through and see, what are people buying right now. I do that mainly myself when I go through, just to see what books I may have missed that people are really enjoying. We talked on this episode about Superman Earth 1 hardcover volume 3, 45% off, only $12.64 over at InStockTrades.com. So if you didn't read it and you liked our episode about it, this is a great chance to pick it up over at InStockTrades.com at 45% off. So they've just got they got the Green Lantern Omnibus by Jeff Johns hardcover, 45% off, only $68.75. So if you missed some of these books, InStockTrades.com is really the place to go to get them at a discount. We're all struggling with our comic budgets. If you're like me, you want more than you can possibly afford. So that's a great way to maximize your dollar and to be able to get as much for your collection as you'd like to read. So be sure to check out DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com, and I want to thank them for supporting our show. Jim, our next episode, we're going to be talking about Aquaman, we're going to talk about The Flash, and we'll pick some other books that we're enjoying right now and chat about them. So we will see everyone next week.
Bye!
On November 13th, Sean Whalen was asked to stop constantly talking about comic books. That request came from his wife. Deep down, he knew she was right, but he also knew that someday he would find someone that would talk to him. With nowhere else to go, he appeared at the home of his childhood friend Jim Segulin. Sometime earlier, Segulin's boss had requested that he shut up about his comic books and never speak of them again. Can two grown men put out a DC Comics podcast without driving each other crazy? It's Raging Bullets, the DC Comics fan podcast. With Sean Whalen as Dr. Norge, and Jim Segulin as the Sensei of the Whatnot and the Duke of You-Know. It's a spoiler podcast, so they will go in depth into the plot line, story twists, and whatnot of the comics they are reviewing. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you may better enjoy the show.